Imagine you're a fully armored knight in the 1400s, steel from head to toe. Warhorse beneath you. Years of training. You charge downhill, confident you are unstoppable. And then you slam into a forest of spears. Not one. Not 10. Thousands. Within minutes, Europe's most elite warriors are on the ground, trampled, stabbed, and humiliated by farmers from the Alps. Today, we're diving into how Swiss pikemen didn't just win battles, they rewrote the rules of warfare. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why kings across Europe were terrified of one thing: a wall of Swiss pikes marching toward them. Let's break it down. Here's the first twist: the Swiss weren't professional soldiers in the beginning. They were mountain farmers, shepherds, tradesmen, living in the rugged cantons of what we now call Switzerland. Life in the Alps was harsh. You learned discipline early. You relied on your neighbors to survive. And that mindset translated perfectly to war. When the powerful Habsburg dynasty tried to assert control in the 13th and 14th centuries, the Swiss Confederation pushed back hard. At battles like Morgarten in 1315 and Sempach in 1386, they proved something shocking. Tight, disciplined infantry could crush mounted nobility. This wasn't just a win. It was a crack in the medieval system. Now let's talk about the real star of the show, the pike. We're not talking about a short spear. A Swiss pike could be 15 to 18 feet long. Imagine trying to fight a porcupine the size of a bus. Individually, a pike is awkward. Collectively, it's a moving fortress. Swiss soldiers trained to move in dense formations, thousands of men packed tightly together, pikes angled forward like a spiked tidal wave. When knights charged, they didn't hit a line. They hit a wall. Horses would rear. Riders would fall. Once the cavalry charge stalled, the Swiss surged forward aggressively, turning defense into offense. And here is where it gets interesting. They didn't just stand still and wait. They attacked. Most medieval infantry played defense. Hold the line. Protect the archers. Survive. The Swiss flipped the script. They advanced rapidly in deep columns called Gewalthofen, literally massive violence. And that's exactly what they were. Instead of spreading thin, they focused power. Imagine a human battering ram made of steel and wood, charging at full speed. Their mobility shocked enemies. Heavily armored knights weren't prepared for fast-moving infantry that could outmaneuver and overwhelm them. At battles like Grandson and Merton in the 1470s, the Swiss crushed the armies of Charles the Bold of Burgundy, one of Europe's most powerful rulers. His troops had artillery, wealth, prestige. The Swiss had discipline and momentum. Guess who won? Here's something most people miss. The Swiss weren't fearless maniacs. They were organized. They drilled constantly. They moved as one unit. If one man broke formation, it could mean death for everyone. That level of discipline gave them a psychological edge. Imagine seeing thousands of men marching toward you in perfect synchronization, no hesitation, no fear, no shouting chaos, just steady, rhythmic advance. It's terrifying. And because they were citizen soldiers defending their independence, morale was sky high. They weren't fighting for a distant king. They were fighting for their homes. That motivation is hard to beat. For centuries, European warfare revolved around the armored knight. Nobles trained from childhood for mounted combat. War was their domain. Then the Swiss showed up and said, essentially, cool armor. Doesn't matter. When cavalry charges repeatedly failed against pike formations, it sent shockwaves through Europe. If peasants with long sticks could defeat mounted elites, what did that mean for feudal society? It meant power was shifting. Infantry well trained, disciplined infantry could dominate the battlefield. And this realization spread like wildfire. Suddenly, rulers across Europe wanted their own Swiss-style troops. Which leads us to the next chapter. After proving themselves, Swiss fighters became the most sought-after mercenaries in Europe. France hired them. The papacy hired them. Even their former enemies hired them. Why? Because if you couldn't beat them, you bought them. Swiss mercenaries earned a reputation for ferocity and reliability. They were often placed at the center of battle formations, where fighting was fiercest. The most famous remnant of this tradition? The Swiss Guard at the Vatican. Yes, those colorfully dressed guards protecting the Pope trace their lineage back to these battlefield legends. But success came with a cost. No military dominance lasts forever. By the early 1500s, gunpowder was changing the game. Arquebuses and cannons began tearing through tight infantry formations. At the Battle of Marignano in 1515, Swiss forces faced French troops supported by heavy artillery and lanzknecht pikemen. The battle was brutal and indecisive at first, but artillery and combined arms tactics proved decisive. The Swiss myth of invincibility cracked. The age of pure pike dominance was ending. But their influence? That never disappeared. Here's the real legacy. The Swiss didn't just win battles. They changed military doctrine. They proved that infantry could defeat cavalry. That discipline beats individual heroics. That cohesion and morale win wars. That aggressive tactics can shatter tradition. Their formations directly influenced German Landsknechts, Spanish tercios, and eventually early modern European armies. In a way, modern infantry tactics combined arms, unit discipline, drilled formations owe a debt to those Alpine farmers. And remember the armored knight charging downhill at the beginning? He wasn't just losing a battle. He was witnessing the end of an era. The Swiss pikemen didn't just humiliate Europe's greatest armies, they forced the entire continent to rethink what power looked like on the battlefield. When discipline, unity, and smart tactics meet courage, even the mightiest systems can fall. If you found this breakdown fascinating, you're going to love the next video on how gunpowder finished what the Swiss started. Hit like if you enjoy deep dives into forgotten military revolutions, and subscribe so you don't miss the next battle that changed history.